For a long time, the world was told only one side of history, a story where Europe always won and Africa always lost. But hidden inside that history is the incredible story of one African king who did not just resist Europe, but outsmarted it, negotiated with it, learned from it, and used its own rules against it. This is the story of King Menelik II of Ethiopia, a ruler who faced powerful European empires at the height of their strength and walked away not conquered, not colonized, but victorious. At a time when almost the entire African continent was being divided like a cake by European powers, Ethiopia stood alone, free and undefeated. And that was not by luck. It was by intelligence, patience, and strategy. In the late 1800s, Europe was rushing into Africa. Britain, France, Germany, and Italy were competing to grab land, resources, and power. They believed Africa was weak, divided, and easy to control. Many African kingdoms were taken by force or tricked with false treaties. Italy, a young European nation hungry for respect, wanted an African colony to prove its power. They set their eyes on Ethiopia, but Ethiopia was not like other places. It had a long history, a strong identity, and a leader who understood the danger coming. Menelik II was not born king. He rose through politics, war, and alliances. He watched Europe closely. He studied how Europeans thought. He learned that guns mattered, but so did diplomacy. While other leaders fought with spears, Menelik bought modern weapons. He traded, negotiated, and even played European powers against each other. If one country refused to sell weapons, he turned to another. France, Russia, and even Britain sold arms to Ethiopia, not realizing they were strengthening the very king who would later stop Europe's advance. Menelik also understood unity. He knew Ethiopia could not survive divided. He brought rival regions together, sometimes by force, sometimes by agreement, creating a stronger state ready to face an external threat. Then came the treaty. Italy approached Menelik with a document known as the Treaty of Wuchale. On the surface, it looked like friendship. Italy recognized Menelik as king. Ethiopia gained weapons and recognition. But hidden inside the treaty was a lie. The Italian version said Ethiopia must conduct its foreign affairs through Italy, making it a protectorate, basically a colony. The Amharic version said Ethiopia may do so if it chooses. One word changed everything. Italy announced to Europe that Ethiopia was now under Italian control. Menelik was furious, but he did not rush into war. He protested diplomatically first. He sent messages to European leaders, exposing the trick. When Italy refused to back down, Menelik prepared for battle. This was where Europe made its biggest mistake. Italy believed Ethiopia was weak. They underestimated African intelligence, planning, and resolve. Menelik mobilized hundreds of thousands of soldiers. Farmers became fighters. Communities supplied food, animals, and weapons. Even women played roles, carrying supplies and sometimes fighting. Ethiopia was not fighting for land. It was fighting for existence. On March 1st, 1896, the two sides met at the Battle of Adwa. Italy expected an easy victory. What they got was a disaster. Ethiopian forces surrounded and crushed the Italian army. Modern rifles, smart positioning, and sheer numbers overwhelmed the invaders. Thousands of Italian soldiers were killed or captured. It shocked the world. An African army had defeated a European power in open battle. This was not a small skirmish. It was a full military defeat. Europe could not ignore it. Italy was forced to recognize Ethiopia as a fully independent nation. Menelik had won. But his victory went far beyond Ethiopia. Across Africa and the African diaspora, the Battle of Adwa became a symbol of hope. It proved that Europe was not unbeatable. It inspired resistance movements, freedom fighters, and future leaders. Black communities around the world celebrated Menelik as a hero. Even today, Adwa is remembered as one of the greatest moments of African resistance. But Menelik's intelligence did not stop at war. After victory, he focused on building Ethiopia. He expanded infrastructure, introduced new technologies, improved trade, and strengthened central authority. He knew independence meant nothing without development. He continued to balance relationships with Europe, accepting what benefited Ethiopia and rejecting what threatened its sovereignty. He used diplomacy as a shield. Menelik showed the world that African leadership was not backward or simple. It was complex, strategic, and forward-thinking. He understood global politics at a time when many believed Africans did not. He played the long game. While other kings were erased from history, Menelik shaped it. Europe never forgot Adwa. Some powers respected Ethiopia, others resented it. Decades later, Italy returned under a different leader, Mussolini, using modern weapons and brutality to occupy Ethiopia briefly. But even then, the spirit of Menelik lived on. Ethiopia regained its independence again, remaining a symbol of African pride. Today, when people talk about African resistance, Menelik II stands tall. He was not perfect. No leader is. But he understood something powerful. To defeat an enemy, you must understand them better than they understand you. He learned Europe's language, weapons, politics, and tricks, then used that knowledge to protect his people. The story of the African king who outsmarted Europe is not just about the past. It is a reminder that intelligence is power, that unity is strength, that Africa was never weak, only underestimated, and that even in the darkest times of history, there were leaders who refused to bow. Menelik II did not just defend Ethiopia. He changed how the world saw Africa forever.